gentlemen, welcome to another edition of Empire State of Baseball's Top 10 Off-Season Series. Today, we are ranking the top 10 second basemen for the 2025 season. Gentlemen, how are we doing? Don't care.
So weird. Well, we have to care. We were caring about second baseman for today's top 10. But Tom, it's very weird here. You do an intro. You did such a great job, man. It's usually
I'll be honest. I'm a little pissed because you gave me the intro of the weakest position in baseball. I'm naturally a shortstop.
Only for the weakest co-host in all of Empire State of Baseball. So.
Listen, there's you guys couldn't carry my mic stand. You couldn't even carry it.
Oh man!
Well, we're getting started early, huh? Corey Fowles, second baseman.
Yeah, before it gets too heated here, I think we'll jump right into it here. But again, we got a top 10 episode today. So rounding out our top 10 list at second base is Mr. Brandon Lowe. One of the better power hitting second basemen. Again, as Tom mentioned, it's a very weak position, so you don't see as many thumpers as maybe you once have. But Brandon Lowe was third across second baseman who played over 100 games at the position. Third in OPS last year at 784. So you take that in the 10th spot. Nico Hoerner, again, it's not so much the bat, his numbers at the plate relatively pedestrian, but it's everything else he brings. Brings great defense out there in the field. Won a Gold Glove in 2023. You look at his fielding metrics on Savant. He's got a 95th percentile fielding. He's also a very, very good base runner. Last year, 31 stolen bases, 43 the year before. So a very valuable player for that team. And finally, Gleyber Torres, the former Yankee, going down 2 spots to the number 8 position. It was an interesting year for Gleyber Torres. Didn't have the hottest start to the season. In the second half, he definitely did improve a bit. And I actually think Gleyber Torres is going to be a piece that the Yankees are going to miss a little bit. Even though it gives you the opportunity to move Jazz Chisholm back home to second base where he belongs. Gleyber Torres has been a pretty big part of that lineup. So they didn't really address third base. That's a whole different ranking. But it will be interesting to see how he does in a new team in a new situation.
Yeah, and I tell you one thing that's missing about this graphic is not only Gleyber in that new Detroit Tigers jersey, but he's got a nice little beard now. Starting to break camp with Detroit as spring training gets going. But I want to talk about an American League East second baseman that still plays in the division. That's Brandon Lowe, that is. So there's the Lowe versus Lowe, what to pronounce it. I went to Baseball Reference.
It says, and you gave me all the shit pre-show that I was going to say his name wrong, and then Corey messes it up. So you know what? It's proven. You guys can't carry my mic stand.
Well, Baseball References Brandon Lowe rhymes with now. So just for reference, see? But Brandon Lowe here finished third of all second basemen with 21 home runs. Definitely not a position of power. We'll get into who placed number 1 and number 2 later on in the list. But Brandon Lowe's advanced metrics. He is in a 94 percentile in sweet spot, 91 percentile in X slugging. Lowe actually had a solid season for an offensive second baseman, 783 OPS. It was his best since his 2021 campaign where he hit 39 home runs. So Lowe here at the number 10 spot. But we'll move over to Tom and see what hard hitting analysis he has in Nico Hoerner. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Tom.
I always bring a hard hitting analysis. Nico Hoerner, one of Yankee Twitter's pipe dreams this offseason. And a lot of it has to do with what Corey's mentioning. He is such a good defender and base runner, which is something the Yankees struggled with last year. Average hitter, again, truly an elite defender, has a lot of versatility, so you really can move him around if you need it to. Who knows? Maybe the Cubs have to sell at the deadline, and it could still happen. But a really quality player, just a good all-around baseball player, Nico Hoerner, in the 9 spot this year.
Yes, sir. So Nico Hoerner, Brandon Lowe, Nico Hoerner.
How was that for analysis, Richard?
Starting our list. Great job, buddy. Great job. But let's move over to the next set of the next trio of second basemen, starting in our number 7 position. And it's a familiar face to the second base list, and that is Ozzy Albies. Albies, a couple of years ago in our first set of rankings, was in the number 6 spot. Last year, he went all the way up to number 3, and then he found his way back down the list into the number 7 position. And Ozzy Albies, at 251, 303, 707 OPS. He stole eight bases. You know, Ozzy Albies, for somebody of his stature, you would think would be swiping more bags, and he didn't. Last year, his problem was health, not being able to stay on the field. He only played in 99 games last year, so he's in our number 7 spot. Number 6, another second baseman who's been on now 3 consecutive lists. He was all the way up to our number 3 spot back in 2023. Last year, he was in our number 8 position, but he moved up a little bit. He's in the number 6 spot. That's Andres Jimenez, the former New York Met, now former Cleveland Guardian, as he was dealt to the Toronto Blue Jays this year. So Andres Jimenez and that platinum glove of his at second base is in the number 6 spot. And in the number 5 spot, a position that Jazz Chisholm Jr. was not in last year, because Jazz Chisholm has pretty much moved all over the field in the last few seasons of his career. Shortstop, second base, center field. Last year, halfway mark of the season, he was playing third base for the New York Yankees and did a pretty solid job for everything that it's worth. He's in a 94th percentile in range. His sprint speed at 82. Jazz Chisholm, the advanced metrics say this is a valuable second baseman. So the Yankees get an improvement with Jazz's play, and he's bringing that energy to the Bronx at the second base bag this year. So he is in our number 5 spot.
Yeah, and just want to touch on Andres Jimenez here a little bit too. I mean, you look at his savant, you want to talk about a good defender. He is in the 100th percentile. He is the best fielding second baseman, and that's really what puts him on this list.
Wasn't the best fielding second baseman the ALCS, you loser? And Andres, Corey, you're not a loser. Andres Jimenez.
Exactly. And good speed too, 89th percentile. You look at some of the hard hit percentages, and those are very, very weak. Like, I could probably top him in some of those hard hit numbers. But the guy's got legs and the guy's got a glove, to Tom's point, just not in the ALCS.
And let's touch a little bit on the little man, Ozzy Albies, who Rich, so eloquently pointed out in his amazing read that, he's someone who has battled injury last year. It's funny, if you look at his baseball reference page, almost every other year for the last 4 years, he's hurt and then he plays almost the full season. Then he's hurt and he plays almost the full season. Even the 2020 season, he only played 29 games. Maybe he had COVID. Maybe he didn't. I don't know. I'm not looking it up. But he is certainly a bat first second baseman, the switch hitter, right? No? Yes, he's a switch hitter. Someone that if he is healthy, he's someone who could really move his way up the list, because he is such a good hitter. And again, the Braves offense really struggled last year, partially because he was injured. If that offense is all together, which again, Corey does not want to hear about that Braves offense being healthy, it's really just going to raise everyone's numbers. And if that happens, we're going to see Ozzy Albies probably in the top half of this list going into 2026.
Tom, I tell you what, man, you're really bringing it today.
Yeah, I always bring it.
From a crisp intro, from your
basically The Rock, just bring it. That's my motto.
I mean, this is an incredible showing here today.
Shut up, Rich. Let me go to the next 3 guys. Shut up. No one wants to hear you anymore.
About the next 3 here on our top 10 list.
Let's talk about them. And listen, it's 2 guys that I don't like. And then Marcus Simeon's also here. So at number 4, we have the offseason drama, where is he going to sign? We have Alex Bregman in the 4 slot, the Red Sox newest third baseman, maybe. I don't know. Devers seems pretty upset about that. So we'll see. We have him in our second base rankings because we don't know exactly where he's going to be. That's where we think he's going to slot. But I'm sure that drama is going to continue.
We may have to reshoot this.
We may have to reshoot this. I'm not going to reshoot it, I'll tell you that much. But listen, he's a talented player. Going to be a really good fit in Boston. If you think the Crawford boxes are kind of gimmicky and give some cheap homers, welcome to Fenway. Welcome to the Green Monster. Bregman's offensive numbers, I think, could skyrocket this year. At the number 3 spot, we have the little man. We have Rich's doppelganger, Jose Altuve. Still doing it. Altuve, he's going to be 35 basically for most of this season. He turns 35 in May. Had another really good offensive season last year. 126 OPS plus. He really stays healthy for the most part. He had some injuries in 2023, but other than that, he always can depend on him out there. My question with Altuve, guys, I'm gonna bring it to you real quick. He's listed at 5'6". There's no way, right? Altuve's like 5'4", right?
I would think so.
Yeah, there's no way.
Yeah, he's wearing big cleats the day they did the measurements.
Probably. The trash can banged and he jumped up a little bit. Anyway, the number 2 spot, the only respectable person on this slide is Marcus Semien, the Texas Rangers second baseman, converted shortstop a few years ago. And you talk about a guy who just he had a bit of a rough year last year, but before that he has been one of the best offensive second baseman in the league. He's also out there playing really good defense to go along with it. I know a lot of the guys we've talked about so far on the list have been either really good defenders or really good offensive players or kind of somewhere in between. Semien is one of the rare guys who really does excel at both at this position, and that is what got him into the number 2 spot, down 1 from last year. And we'll get to our number 1 rankings shortly. But guys, what do you think about these 3?
Yeah, first I gotta say, it is very strange seeing Bregman and Altuve back-to-back here on a top 10 list. It almost looks like we're looking at a batting order with Bregman hitting behind Altuve. But it's interesting because it was weird in terms of how we would go ranking him, because he never was a second baseman. He was a third baseman. And again, we're expecting him to play second base, but who knows? So when you're looking at rankings, again, second base, a relatively weak offensive position. Now, these top 3 guys, you see 2 of them here. The one will be revealed shortly. Very, very good offensive players. So I think Bregman's perfectly slotted in that 4th spot. Because we can't put him in the top 3 not knowing what to expect with him out of the position. But he's got the pedigree, he's got the resume, he's got the experience, where I feel pretty confident that we could safely say he's a top 5 second baseman, maybe just not top 3 just yet.
Yeah, Bregman, of course, making his debut on the second base list, obviously. Marcus Semien was in the number 4 spot 2 years ago. Last year, he was our number 1 overall second baseman. So we're going to have a brand new number 1 entirely, because 2 years ago, it was Jose Altuve who was in that very same number 1 position. He scaled down the list since at a snail's pace. He went from 1 to 2. Now he's at 3. But Jose Altuve still putting up numbers that's going to pad his already Hall of Fame based career. 295 batting average was the best among qualified second basemen last year. 789 OPS was the second best among qualified second basemen last year. He had 20 home runs. And yes, Baseball Reference has him at 5'6", which puts him an inch shorter than me, which is good to hear for my sake. But we're going to go now to our number 1 second baseman, the main event of today's version of the player rankings. And like I mentioned, this number 1 is a brand new number 1, but somebody who's been on the list 3 consecutive years now, but is first time in the top position. And that is the Arizona Diamondbacks' Ketel Marte. Ketel Marte is our number 1 ranked second baseman, as he should. He finished 3rd in the NL MVP voting last year. Marte's numbers, absolutely unbelievable for a second baseman. 292 batting average. Yes, second best to Altuve, but this is where he leads. Home runs, 36 home runs for a second baseman in Ketel Marte. 932 OPS for a second baseman. That led all second basemen, of course, for Ketel Marte. An on-base percentage of 372, led all second basemen in that category. Ketel Marte is our number 1 second baseman. Corey Faz, what else do you have on our guy here, Ketel?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'll just say, too, we were just talking about Altuve, and if we thought he was shorter than listed, Ketel Marte, I think, is bigger than listed. Because when I went to that game in Arizona last year, and we had those that suite right next to the dugout, he looked like a big dude, man. He looked like he could play football, let alone baseball. So I think
the ball.
Yeah,
He threw a ball.
He threw a lot of balls there too, man. He's, again, phenomenal player. He was universally number one on our lists. Had a phenomenal year. He's a big part of that Arizona lineup. Well deserving of the first spot.
Yeah, Marte is, listen, if you look at his baseball savant page, it is just red almost everywhere. He's such a good and another versatile player, a guy who's kind of found his way into second base, but has played some outfield in the past as well. So just a good guy you have on your team. Frankly, a great guy on my fantasy team. Big fan of Mr. Marte and looking forward to a productive 2025 out of the young man in Arizona. And with that, thanks for listening. We all appreciate you tuning in to our top second baseman list of 2025. Ketel Marte reigns supreme. Will he top the list next year? Who knows? Stay tuned, and thanks for listening.